This is me, July 29th, 2008. It is 12:33 Mountain Time. Covering all my bases, making sure that if something happens to me or my family or all of us, that our assets are documented. Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible.
That's odd.
Report suspicious activities.
It's raining today.
This is Susan Powell. She is documenting her possessions and assets in her home on the advice of her attorney, who feared that her husband, Josh Powell, might be up to something nefarious. In the video, Susan walks through her home, describing her belongings and their value. In the years leading up to the now infamous recording, the couple's marriage had been under increasing strain. Throughout the recording, Susan subtly lets on that their relationship was anything but loving, hinting at issues of control. Against the background of her two young boys' blissful ignorance, her stress is palpable in her voice throughout the recording.
This is all of Josh's RC car stuff. You are with me. And there is a shop vac. This is all stuff bought in a year or less through Home Depot on my credit. Josh bought a lot of stuff and then he had to bankrupt it. And then he bought a little bit more on my credit. Oh, there's his RC car. It's pretty pimped out. If you can see that stuff. I think he's got probably a 3,000 worth of supplies in the RC car world. And here is our safe. Bear with me a moment. I'm going to press the code. Okay. So, things are fairly organized. I've got all sorts of files. This is all thanks to me trying to save them. There's a wedding picture.
Almost a year and a half after the recording, on the morning of December 6th, 2009, Susan went to church with her two boys, Charlie and Braden, then aged 4 and 2. After which, sometime in the afternoon, a neighbor visited the Powell home, leaving at about 5 p.m. This would be the last time anyone would see Susan outside of her own family. Just past midnight that same day, Josh took their two boys on a late-night camping trip in the freezing Utah desert. Why did Susan not join them? Well, according to Josh, she decided to stay home because she was tired. The morning after, when the Powell boys weren't dropped off at daycare, Joshua's family went to the Powell house to check on them. Finding no one home and unable to reach either Joshua or Susan, they reported the entire Powell family missing. According to reports, when they entered the Powell residence, they found no one inside, but noticed two box fans blowing at a wet spot on their couch. Later that day at around 5 p.m., Joshua finally returned home with the boys. Immediately, he was taken to the police station for questioning. When interrogated by the police, Joshua claimed that when he left home with the boys, Susan was sound asleep and thus had no idea what had happened to her. Immediately, Joshua's story raised red flags. Never mind the odd camping story, he declined to provide a DNA sample or even allow investigators to search his home without a warrant. When authorities finally entered the Powell home, they found evidence of a cleanup, including the wet carpets and fans previously noticed by his own family. Even more odd, Susan's cell phone and purse were left behind along with her minivan, which was parked in the garage, suggesting she had most likely not left voluntarily. But things continued to get stranger as the investigation continued. December 8th. After a police interrogation, Joshua rented a car and disappeared. Only 18 hours later did he call his mother from a new phone. While he told the police he had simply been driving laps around the city aimlessly, getting on and off freeways at random. Police investigation showed that he had placed an additional 807 miles on the odometer of his rental car. December 10th. To corroborate Joshua's unbelievable claim that he had taken the boys camping, the police visited the Pony Express Trail where Joshua claimed they had camped at. However, the police found zero evidence of the campsite that he had described. This, combined with the fact that there was a blizzard that fateful night, made the police highly suspicious of Joshua. On top of that, investigators discovered that he had purchased a large quantity of gasoline before the camping trip, which he claimed was for a generator. However, given the timing and circumstances of the purchase, the case against Joshua only got stronger. So, to no one's surprise, Joshua quickly became the prime suspect. As authorities dug deeper, they uncovered troubling details about Joshua's behavior leading up to Susan's disappearance. He had taken out a life insurance policy on Susan, and perhaps even more damningly, he had quite stupidly, might I add, been researching topics such as how to kill someone and how to make a murder look like an accident on his computer. Additionally, Susan had even confided in friends and family about her deteriorating marriage and her fear that Joshua might eventually harm her, which explains why she began documenting his controlling behavior and exorbitant spending after consulting a divorce attorney. Eventually, the police got access to Susan's safe deposit box at the bank where she worked. Inside, they found a haunting record, a handwritten letter. In it, she had written that Joshua had taken out a $1 million life insurance policy. Disturbingly, she also wrote, "If I die, it may not be an accident, even if it looks like one." About 10 days after she mysteriously disappeared, the authorities found out he had filed paperwork to liquidate her retirement accounts, canceled her regularly scheduled chiropractic sessions, and withdrew his children from daycare. Not only that, they uncovered that he had also previously spoken to co-workers about how to hide a body in an abandoned mine shaft in the western Utah desert. Despite mounting evidence against Joshua, he was never officially charged in connection with Susan's disappearance. The lack of a body and direct evidence made it difficult for prosecutors to build a case. However, the investigation revealed a web of lies and disturbing behavior by Joshua. Susan's family and friends reported that even during the search efforts, he never showed or even feigned a genuine interest in finding his missing wife. During the investigation, the police also questioned the couple's two sons, but it was ultimately futile as they could hardly get any coherent information out of them on account of their ages. Though it should be noted that, for whatever it's worth, they did mention that Susan had accompanied them on their camping trip on the night of the disappearance.
When you guys came home from camping, who came home with you?
My dad
And?
and my mom stayed at Dinosaur National Park.
Your mom stayed there?
Yeah.
Where did she stay at the park?
She,
Do you know where?
she stayed at Dinosaur National Park.
Do you know where at the park? No?
My mom stayed where a crystals are.
Where what are?
Where a crystals are.
When detectives confronted Joshua with the information that his son provided, here's how he responded.
One of our detectives just interviewed your children, and your children are telling our detectives that Mom went with you guys last night, and that she didn't come back.
She did not go with us.
Okay. Well, with that, just getting that information, you're not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to let you leave.
There's nothing that happened. She was not with us. And if my kids said that,
So your kids lie then? Do your kids lie?
sometimes they do. I mean, if they said that she was with us, they know that's not true.
In 2011, as investigations stalled, Joshua moved to Washington State with his sons, but quickly, after a rather contentious custody battle, a judge granted temporary custody to Susan's parents, Chuck and Judy Cox, citing concerns about Joshua's ability to care for the children. On February 5, 2012, more than 2 years after Susan's disappearance, the case took a devastating turn. A state social worker brought the Powell boys to Joshua's house for a supervised visit. However, immediately upon their arrival, Joshua grabbed his sons, locked out the social worker, and set the house on fire.
But I think I need help right away. He's on a very short lease with DSHS, and CPS has been involved. And this is the craziest thing. He looked right at me and closed the door. And I'd like to pull out of the driveway because I smell gasoline and he won't let me in. This could be life-threatening. He went to court on Wednesday and he didn't get his kids back. And this is really, I'm afraid for their lives. He blew up the house and the kids. He slammed the door in my face. So I kept knocking. I thought it was a mistake. Kids were one step ahead of me. They're 5 and 7. They were one step ahead of me and he slammed the door in my face.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John DeCepolo. We are interrupting your programming for some breaking news out of Pierce County this afternoon. We have just confirmed there has been a fatal explosion at the home of Josh Powell. Air 4 is over the scene right now. Take a look at some of these pictures.
The explosion killed Josh and his young sons, leaving Susan's family and the public in shock. More shockingly, autopsy reports determined that both children had significant chopping injuries on their heads and necks from a hatchet that was recovered near Joshua's body. This tragedy was seen as Josh's final act of control and vengeance, further cementing his role as the prime suspect in Susan's disappearance. Or you know what? Let's call it like it is. If his behavior during the investigation wasn't suspicious enough, the unspeakable crime he committed on that day in 2012 was about as clear an admission of guilt as you can get in a case like this. In the aftermath of the tragic incident, the police started looking deeper into Joshua's family, who they suspected knew more about the case than they were letting on. According to reports, the police had solid evidence that suggested Michael, Joshua's brother, had helped him get rid of Susan's body. However, before that line of investigation even got anywhere substantial, Michael also took his own life in 2013, which feels like yet another admission of guilt. Despite the tragic end to Joshua and his sons' lives, the search for Susan continues. Over the years, investigators have pursued numerous leads, including searches in the Utah desert where Joshua claimed to have gone camping. In 2013, authorities excavated a property in Oregon owned by Joshua's family, but no remains were found. Susan's family has remained steadfast in their quest for answers, holding out hope that one day her remains will be found and justice will be served. Rather hauntingly, in hindsight, Susan's tone in the video is both practical and somber.
Hope everything works out and we're all happy and live happily ever after as much as that's possible.
This ain't nothing. I am a long-distance hiker. One time during one of my hikes out by Nellis Air Force Base, I found a hidden cave. The entrance to the cave was shaped like a perfect capital M. I always enter every cave I find, but as I began to enter this particular cave, my whole body began to vibrate. The closer I got to the cave entrance, the worse the vibrating became. Suddenly, I became very scared and hightailed it out of there. That was one of the strangest things that ever happened to me. In late 2014, these words were posted to a YouTube video titled, Area 51 Technician's Son Discloses Secret Alternative Energy. The man behind the screen was Las Vegas resident and avid hiker Kenny Veach, with the screen name Snakebit McGee, another YouTuber. Unbeknownst to him at the time, his comment would set in motion a series of events that would lead to one of Nevada's most puzzling urban legends. Kenny's comment caught on like wildfire, as some called Kenny a liar while others were curious. After that original comment, some users even encouraged Kenny to seek out the cave and enter again, so that this time he could document his hike and provide evidence of his strange discovery. He obliged, and off he set to relocate the mysterious M cave for a second time, armed with a 9mm handgun and a video camera.
Well, here I am, on my hike up here in the mountains north of Las Vegas. My mission today is to just do a one-day hike. It's about a 10-hour hike, and I'm looking for a cave that I found, and I didn't have a sidearm when I was here before, and something about that cave just spooked me. Out of all the caves I've ever gone in, this one just made my body vibrate. The closer I got to it, the crazier my body felt, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna go in there right now, but I'm coming back someday. And I talked to some people on YouTube and I told them, hey, I'm coming out here, you know, because they kind of called my hand on it. So I don't know if there's going to be anything to it, but it might be interesting. If I can find it, I got to relocate it, and this is a big mountain range. Hopefully I'll find it. It's shaped like a big M. It's a big cave that looks just like a gigantic M, and it's about as tall as I am and kind of narrow, and it's stuck on the side of a mountain. So I hope I can find it again. And if I do, I'm going in there. I'm gonna put on my light and take my gun out and walk in there, see if I find anything. We'll see.
After his introduction to the landscape and the hike ahead of him, he continues to document what he sees as he travels through the Mojave deserts in his quest to find the M Cave. Much to his dismay, he was unable to locate the cave. He found no clues to the mysterious cave.
Whew, what a hike. It's disappointing I didn't find the cave, but I still like to hike. And I just came across this fellow. It's been a while since I saw one. It's a nice little Mojave Desert tortoise.
But regardless, upon his return, he still uploaded a video of that journey. As expected, the video was met with much criticism. Because he had failed to find the cave, a lot of viewers called him a fraud, while others provoked him into trying a third time to seek out the mysterious cave. Again, Kevin obliged, though ominously one comment would warn him, "Oh, do not go back there. If you find that cave entrance, don't go in, you won't get out." Kenny was experienced at desert hiking or spelunking, claiming to have hiked extensively in the area, even leaving several YouTube comments on the Area 51 video detailing his experience. "I solo hike across mountaintops that most people wouldn't dare go. I have been in more caves than I can count. I play with rattlesnakes for fun. But this one particular cave was beyond anything I had ever encountered." In another comment, he added, "I have been doing this sort of thing for over 20 years. I go where no one goes, and I never take anyone with me. I find skulls of all shapes and sizes, and occasionally I find really old animal traps. I hike over mountaintop after mountaintop and sleep on peaks under the stars. Sometimes I have to scale giant cliffs to get myself out of a jam, but I always make it back. I'm beat up and tired, and my pack is almost always heavier than when I left. I had to be rescued only one time by a helicopter. I had blown out my left leg at the top of the mountain, and I only had a cup of water left to get me 20 miles back to my truck. It was also over 100 degrees out, so I have a very good safety record." So off he set again. November 14th. Kenny set off on his third hike to find the mysterious M Cave in the Mojave Desert. He told his family that he was going for a short overnight trip. However, this time, he would never return. In the beginning of the M Cave hike video Kenny posted before his disappearance, you can see him standing by an abandoned mine shaft. It was there, on November 22nd, 2014, search and rescue volunteers found Kenny's cell phone, suggesting that he had indeed hiked there for another hike. However, after the discovery of his cell phone, the trail went cold. Kenny was never found, leading to much speculation on how he died. The mysterious circumstances of his death naturally fueled the internet with countless theories on what happened to YouTuber Snakebit McGee. Had he fallen down a mine shaft? Had he discovered a hidden entrance to Area 51? Had he stumbled upon some great military secret? Was the cave connected to aliens? Did he witness something out there in the desert for which he had to be silenced and disappeared? Or had he simply succumbed to the elements? The trail ran cold for some time, until a woman claiming to be Kenny's girlfriend posted the following comment on his M Cave hike video. "I am the girlfriend that Kenny spoke of in the video. There are so many posts. I had no idea until a friend let me know. So many people are wondering what happened and guessing different things. You are heartfelt about the sadness around what has happened with Kenny. He has not been found, and I feel that he probably will not be found for many, many months, if ever. I want to share what I know and feel about what happened so that you might bring some closure and understanding in your own lives. Kenny absolutely loved hiking in the desert. It was his very, very favorite thing to do. We hiked and camped together all over the Nevada desert, sometimes 9 hours in a day. We found many abandoned mining towns, usually referred to as ghost towns by Nevada hikers. We explored many caves and mine shafts. We were always careful how we explored them, But Kenny was a bit more daring than I was. We wore snake guards, sun-protected clothing, used walking sticks, brought enough water and food for the hiking hours, and had extra water food in the car. I want you to know that I do not think Kenny had an accident. I believe he committed suicide. He battled depression for many years and would not take medication or see a doctor. He quit his job a little more than a year before he disappeared. The search for him was started within a couple days of my call. Over 30 search and rescue team members searched 3 different times on foot. 1 helicopter flyover was done, and there was no trace of Kenny or any of his camping things. They found his car in the area I told them it would be. They did find his cell phone by the mine shaft in the video. The mine shaft was only about a 4-hour hike from his car. It is my feeling he left it behind so that he could not be tracked from the GPS in it. He also did not take his video camera with him on this solo hike. It was left in his home, so he had no intention of filming anything. I share this with you for 2 reasons. First, so that you have more of an understanding who Kenny was, and to bring some peace or understanding to the situation. Secondly, if any of you do decide to go out into our desert to look for him or the M Cave, be careful and bring enough water and food. I had many wonderful experiences with Kenny, and will always remember them and have a place of love in my heart for him and the wonderful things we did together. I am healing from my loss and look forward to new experiences with desert hiking, camping, and taking beautiful pictures of our desert. Enjoy your adventures of life, and thank you for the kind, loving comments sent my way. I tried to confirm the validity of these comments, but alas. That said, it does seem pretty genuine, and perhaps more importantly, it does seem feasible. An adventurous, daring hiker who loves the thrill of exploring, bringing the internet along with him on a mysterious final journey himself. Life has a way of being mundane and poetic like that. But, till this day, others still insist that the girlfriend is a decoy to distract the public from the fact that on his 3rd and final hike, Kenny did indeed find the elusive M Cave again, and entered it, discovering a dark and dangerous secret that lies within, forever swallowing him in its darkness. You decide. In the early hours of Sunday, May 27, 2018, Spencer Mugford, 20, and Sophia McKenna, 21, met up in the parking lot of the University of Connecticut, where Spencer was a student. That night in May, a little after 1 a.m., Spencer and Sophia set out on an adventure to the Long Island Sound. The 2 friends took a small, unlocked sailboat missing a mast and rudder from the University of Connecticut Avery Point's campus marina. Their destination was the New London Ledge Lighthouse, a popular yet eerie spot rumored to be haunted by the ghost of a former lighthouse keeper who had leapt to his death a century earlier. Sophia left her phone in her locked car, while Spencer stashed his shoes, wallet, and keys in other sailboats at the marina before they departed. Shortly before 2 a.m., Sophia used Spencer's phone to post a Snapchat video of him paddling the boat as they approached the lighthouse. In the video, she exclaims,
"Yo, we're out here in the fucking ocean with us." That is the land. Like, we still have to get to there. Wait, where? Oh, we're almost there. Okay, but you know, Spence fucking sucks. Come on, get us there.
At exactly 2 a.m., Spencer posted a Snapchat photo of Sophia standing in front of the words, "No trespassing," etched into the narrow ledge at the base of the lighthouse. The photo was captioned with 3 laughing emojis, and Sophia posed with her tongue out, flashing a mischievous, defiant smile. But just 5 minutes later, something went horribly wrong. Between 2:05 and 2:09 a.m., 7 calls were made from Spencer's phone to Sophia's mother, Michelle McKenna. Since Michelle wasn't in Spencer's contacts and he didn't know her number, she later concluded that her daughter must have made the calls. Unfortunately, Sophia left no voicemail and didn't dial 911. That morning, when Spencer failed to appear at his brother's high school graduation, his family searched his apartment and their home in Westerly, Rhode Island. Meanwhile, when Sophia, who had plans to meet her boyfriend, Austin Cordova, at the Foxwoods casino outlets that afternoon, didn't show up, Austin began calling her repeatedly. After several hours with no luck, he contacted Michelle to ask if she'd heard from Sophia. Michelle hadn't, but upon checking her call log, she noticed the 7:02 a.m. missed calls from an unknown number. When she dialed back and reached Spencer's voicemail, she immediately sensed something was wrong. She alerted Austin and contacted the police while he began calling local hospitals.
She didn't try to call 911 from the phone. There was voicemail. She could have left a voicemail, but she didn't. She didn't text. And yet, like, no 911 calls were made. So that just makes it all the more weirder. Like, what was going on?
Both Spencer and Sophia's families reported them missing around 15 hours after the final missed call. The Snapchat posts helped authorities pinpoint their last known location. By around 6 p.m. the same day, the Coast Guard launched an official search. Quite quickly, they were able to track down Sophia's parked car with her phone still inside. By 7:40 p.m., a key piece of evidence was discovered. Spencer's Yukon t-shirt, which he had been wearing in the Snapchat video, was found tied to a cleat at the lighthouse. Investigators later determined it had likely been used to secure the boat, except that the boat was no longer there. The next day, around 4:30 p.m., the boat was spotted flipped upside down near Truman's Beach, on the north shore of Long Island, about 13.5 miles from the lighthouse. Strangely, the police found a series of unidentified fingerprints on the boat, which they never analyzed. Due to harsh weather, the Coast Guard suspended the search the very same day with plans to relaunch the search should new evidence come up. 11 days after their disappearance, on June 8th, a fisherman discovered Spencer's body near North Dumpling Island, roughly 4.5 miles from the lighthouse, pretty much in the opposite direction from where the boat was recovered. Both alcohol and THC were found in Spencer's system, but the official cause of death was ultimately labeled as accidental drowning, with no signs of human-induced trauma. Though it didn't take long for the public to start coming up with some twisted, dark theories as to why only Spencer's body was found with no signs of Sophia's. Online, a devoted group of web sleuths joined her search and started coming up with theories. To the public, it seemed strange that the search had been called off so quickly and that Spencer's phone records were never released, and also the fingerprints recovered on the boat. Why weren't they analyzed? Or why didn't Sophia call 911, they thought. Fingers eventually started pointing at Austin, Sophia's boyfriend. Sophia was allegedly in an abusive relationship with Austin, which had reportedly gotten worse in the months leading up to that night in May. After an incident when Austin went to Sophia's apartment and tried to kick down the door while threatening to end her life, Sophia had started to distance herself from him. After which, she had started to spend more time with Spencer, whom she had met while working at a local spa. They briefly dated but ultimately decided they were better off as friends. Based on this history, theories arose that claimed that Austin had somehow murdered Spencer and later took Sophia to another location to murder her as well. As evidence, people cited the couple's volatile history, which included a 911 call from Sophia that resulted in Austin being arrested on 2 misdemeanor charges of second-degree threatening and second-degree breach of peace. A popular theory suggests that at some point in the night, the boat might have started floating away and Spencer jumped in the water to redock it, and that in the process of trying to bring it back to the dock, he drowned. After which, Sophia was left alone at the lighthouse screaming for help. According to this theory, a lone boater may have heard her and stopped by. Pretending to help her, he kidnapped her. After which, she was probably murdered or trafficked. Another theory suggests that perhaps Spencer and Sophia got in a fight that night at the lighthouse, and somehow both ended up dying. However, given the rather jovial vibe in the Snapchat video and the lack of a history of violence for both of them, this theory seems unlikely. We will never know. The possible exact circumstances are endless. However, one thing is for sure, they all lead to the same tragic ending.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
5584107 Ivan Schroeder house.
Repeat the address for verification.
They're stealing from my house.
Okay, say your address one more time. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Get the out of my house.
Okay, do you know who this person is?
No, I don't. I just know that there's an intruder in my house.
You don't know who they are?
No, I don't. Please hurry.
Are you at the location now?
Yes, I am.
Were weapons involved or mentioned?
They're not talking or responding. I'm just telling them to leave so I can hear them taking things.
So you haven't seen them, you can just hear them?
Yes, correct.
This is the fourth call Kaylin Louder made to 911. On September 26th, 2014, the 30-year-old made the call first 911 call. In it, she reported a fight going inside her condo's clubhouse. When asked if any weapons had been fired, she claimed she had heard gunshots. However, when the police arrived at the condo, they encountered a wedding reception full of guests celebrating instead. According to the police reports, when questioning the wedding guests, one admitted that he had previously lit a firecracker in celebration, which Kaylin might have mistaken for a gunshot. Judging no foul play or crime, the police wrapped up the investigation. Only a few hours later, a second 911 call was made by Kaylin. However, before the dispatcher could even pick up the call, she hung up. Concerned, the police called her back. According to their reports, Kaylin sounded pretty confused and was hard to comprehend. Allegedly, though, Kaylin did confess that her roommate had told her that she was being paranoid and acting delusional. The next morning at 8 a.m., Kaylin made the fourth and last 911 call, the very disturbing 911 call that you heard earlier. During the call, Kaylin tells the dispatcher that there's an intruder in her apartment, but then contradicts herself several times while saying things that just don't make sense.
Are you or anyone else in immediate danger?
I believe so.
Okay, are you able to get yourself to safety?
I just want to answer that while he's here.
I'm sorry, what?
No.
Can you talk freely with me?
Yeah.
Okay, where exactly are you?
I'm in the back bedroom.
Okay.
Karen,
Where did
lock
the
your
suspect
door.
enter the building?
There's only one door. On the west side.
Okay, where are the possible exits from the building?
There's only one. Get out of my house!
Is there anyone else in the building who belongs there?
Yes, there's 6 apartments.
I'm sorry, what?
6.
There's 6 people?
6 apartments.
Okay, is there anybody else in your apartment that should be there?
I believe she is here. I have a roommate
Where is she at?
next door to me.
You still hear them?
Yes,
Where does it sound like they're at?
the front room, near the entrance. It's a small place. Shut up!
Are they saying anything?
Yeah, I heard someone say, hey, go in there, so there's obviously 2 of them. Hey, Carol, lock the door!
At some point, her roommate, Carol, enters the room sounding confused at the allegations that someone had broken into their apartments. In her frenzied state, she also explains how she had seen multiple people stalking her through her window who were planning on breaking in.
There's something going on there. Come here. Yeah. They might have left.
Okay, what's going on now? Hello?
Okay. Think they left?
They've left now?
Yeah. So I'm just going to look and see if anything's been taken. Someone opened the door, and I heard them come in, so
Okay.
I know that
Do
this
you know
happened.
where they went at all?
No, don't do that, Carol. If the door's still locked, it's impossible. They must have a key or something. Because when I took the dog out, I heard people talking. And there was people last night, like, sitting outside the window. And so they, like, were scoping us out or something. Nobody knows about this. Oh, scary. About, like, the fake key. I swear to God, someone opened the door. Here's the thing. It's fake. It's fake. Mm-hmm. And then that, why is the door still locked? Well, I can't explain that, but I heard, like, 2 people talking.
After this part of the call, it becomes hard to make out exactly what is being said. but it is clear that Carol is asking questions while Kaylin answers. It seems that Carol points out that the door to the apartment is still locked and has been locked all morning to explain to Kaylin that that means no one could or had broken in. But Kaylin still sounds pretty upset and convinced that there was an intruder in the apartment. Even though it was relatively clear from the call that there hadn't been a break-in, the police still went to Kaylin's residence to make sure she was okay. Once there, they confirmed that there were no signs someone had broken in. Little did they know then that the case would take a bizarre turn. 6 p.m. later that day, the condo security cameras captured Kaylin outside of her apartment, walking barefoot in the rain. In the footage, she can be seen carrying her dog as she walks back to her apartment from a nearby creek outside the condo entrance. She can also be seen talking. Whether she's talking to herself or to her dog remains unclear, though it's clear that her body language and behavior seems off. A few seconds later, she can be seen running back to her apartment as if running away from someone or something. Tragically, that video would be the last time Kaylin was ever seen alive. Later that day, she would be reported missing. From the start of the investigation, the authorities were convinced that Kaylin was mentally ill due to the calls she made before her disappearance. In her apartment, they found her phone, dog, shoes, and her wallet. Her family revealed that she never left her dog alone for more than an hour ever, that she was so attached to her dog, she would even take it to special events like weddings and graduations. Although the police combed the entire area surrounding her apartment condo, the initial search was unsuccessful. It wasn't until 2.5 months later, on December 1st of that year, that her body was discovered in the Jordan River in West Valley City. During an inspection of drainage pipes by a city crew, they found her body sticking out of the water in the middle of the river. Partially obscured by plant debris, her body was mostly submerged. As the body had been decomposing in the water for months, the police couldn't immediately determine the age or gender, though by the next day medical examiners were able to confirm the body as Kaylin. But even though her identity was confirmed, the level of decomposition made it impossible for them to determine the cause of death, let alone if foul play was involved. What's strange is that the river her body was found in is pretty shallow to drown in. Moreover, her body was found far away from where the authorities speculated she might have accidentally fallen into the creek and drowned. So if the chances of her drowning in a shallow river was small, was she washed away from the speculated creek to where she was found? That would make more sense, right? Well, authorities stated that it would have been unlikely that her body could have been carried all the way to where it was found without getting snagged on a branch or stuck in the mud. So, another dead end. Formally, the authorities concluded that Kaylin's death was an accidental drowning that stemmed from what they assumed to be a psychotic break. However, it must be noted that her family suspected foul play. They emphasized that she had no history of mental illness, and if anything, were adamant that she was a stable and relatively happy woman. They did, however, admit that she had been down in the months leading up to her disappearance due to a difficult job search after being let go from her job at a school. A shocking detail, however, did emerge that some have claimed sheds a light on her mental state in her last days. In 2006, 8 years before her death, her twin brother accidentally murdered their uncle while they were both under the influence of drugs. Though it was a shocking event, her family were steadfast in stating that she remained stable, even if a little disturbed. Theories abound, but the consensus seems to align with the official consensus, that of a psychotic break, especially when based on the testimony of the last person who saw her alive. Since Carol did not see any intruder or evidence of a break-in, it seems likely Kaylin imagined it all in the midst of a mental episode. It's unlikely we'll ever get to the bottom of what happened to Kaylin Lowder, but nevertheless, may she rest in peace. By all accounts, Dale was an ordinary man who was loved by his family and respected by his employer, a 50-year-old security guard and maintenance man who had worked at the Corning Glassworks plant in Bradford, Pennsylvania. September 12, 1987. The day began like any other typical workday for Dale. At 11 p.m., he began his shift as a weekend security guard. That fateful night, however, $250,000 worth of platinum pipe vanished from the plant. Along with Dale, never to be seen again. The next morning at around 7 a.m., the day shift security guard named John Lindquist arrived at the plant. Expecting to find Dale waiting to be relieved as usual, he stated, "He usually sat right inside the door and he wasn't there. So I walked in the cafeteria and I saw his lunch pail sitting on the table. I happened to pick up the newspaper and there were the keys. So then I looked in his lunch pail and I saw that everything was there he hadn't eaten." Later that morning, Dale's pickup truck was found in the plant's parking lot. Police were immediately called in to investigate. In the truck, they found a number of clues that suggested that perhaps Dale had not disappeared voluntarily. His car keys were still in the ignition along with his day pack, a full carton of cigarettes, an empty gun holster from his .22 caliber pistol. That afternoon, the sheriff's K9 unit was brought in to track Dale's movements in the 112,000 square foot factory. Eventually, the dogs led the police to the second floor, which was the site of the plant's glass furnace, also known as the tank, which contained the valuable platinum pipe. However, this was strange as it was not part of Dale's normal security rounds. Puzzled by their findings, the investigation next focused on footage from 3 security cameras that monitored the factory around the clock. What they found was even more puzzling and sinister. What you're seeing now is the original footage of what took place that night. Due to the deterioration of the old footage, it is extremely grainy, making it completely useless for the purposes of this video. Instead, here is a reenactment of the footage, which is supposed to be perfectly accurate. In the footage, a masked man is seen walking around the plant, seemingly scouting the building. Shortly after, the man ran up to the second floor to exactly where the platinum pipes were located. According to the manager who first saw the footage, whoever removed the platinum from the tank was extremely familiar with the plant. Everything in the plant. They knew exactly where to go. Sometime later, Dale can be seen speaking to the masked man. As Dale is dragged out of the room by the arm, he looks directly into the security camera. At one point in the footage, sometime after, the masked man can be seen dragging a heavy bag out of the building with a manual forklift. Authorities could not tell if Dale was being coerced or if he was part of the heist. Why did he look directly into the camera? Was he signaling for help? Or was he coolly flaunting his crime? The plant manager was sure he knew the answer, stating, "I think the fact that he did everything in front of the cameras was once again just Dale saying to us, 'Look, hey, here I am. I'm taking your platinum, and there isn't a thing you can do about it.'" However, Wendy Kerstetter believed her father was an innocent victim. According to her theory, when Dale heard or saw the masked intruder and went to investigate, that was when things started to unravel, stating, if he had planned on taking off anywhere, why would he bother packing lunch? I mean, just little things like that, and a whole carton of cigarettes, and he smoked all the time. I mean, he would have taken his cigarettes. This theory suggests that at some point during his shift, Dale may have chanced upon the masked intruder sneaking around the premises, and that when he went to investigate and apprehend the intruder, he got coerced into cooperating in the platinum heist, and then murdered and discarded off somewhere else. Perhaps the suspicious bag which the man was hauling out with a forklift contained not only the stolen platinum, but also the body of Dale. Another theory places Dale at the center of a bold and premeditated robbery. What makes this entire case so mysterious is that footage. What was that look about? What was he trying to say? Was it a gesture of defiance? Or perhaps a look of resignation? Was he an inside man? Or was he an unfortunate witness to a crime that ultimately led to his disappearance?